Hey everybody, this is the third video in the Bridge Designer series. And in this video, we're going to talk about cutting cost away from a working bridge. So if you don't have a working bridge yet, you need to go back to the first two videos and start there. Once you have a working bridge, we're going to start shaving some of the costs down. Again, we're trying to get to 225,000. So we need to keep that in mind as we work. Now, this table is where we're going to be doing almost all of our work, and we're going to be sorting by clicking on that column up on top, and that's going to sort out my pieces. Now, we can shrink pieces that are at 0.6 or below safely. We may be able to shrink pieces that are larger than that, but we're going to start with the small pieces to start. So I'm looking in my chart and I'm looking for any piece that has a ratio of 0.6 or less. And here I see I have 0.11. Here it's 0.05. So that meets the criteria. Here we've got 0.10, 0.05. Here I've got a 0 in compression and 0.36 in tension. So I'm going to look through carefully and I'm going to select all of these pieces, and I'm going to stop here because I've got 0.67. So I'm going to shrink these pieces. When I shrink them, and I'm going to shrink them by clicking on this decrease the size, because what this button does is it shrinks each piece one size regardless of how big those pieces are. So all of my pieces are different sizes right now. And if I click this button, it decreases each of them by one size. So right now my cost is $328,799. And when I decrease the size, now my price is $318,036. So it went down significantly. So every time I shrink those pieces, I need to retest my bridge. Now, the challenging thing is that as I shrink these pieces, the bridge is actually getting lighter, allowing for the pieces to be smaller again. So you can't just shrink all of the pieces a bunch of times and then come back. We need to do it once and then test it and then go back again. So now I'm going to double check all those values. All of them are still lower than 0.6. So I'm going to shrink again, test the bridge, go back, look for any number less than 0.6. Now this number is at 0.6. I'm going to include that and see what happens. So I'm going to shrink, come back. Now that piece went up to 0.71. So I'm going to exclude that piece, select the other pieces, shrink them, retest, and go back. Double check my numbers. This piece went up to 0.68. So I'm probably not going to be able to shrink that. So I'm going to resort my pieces and select only the pieces that are at 0.6 or less. And as I do this, now you can see I'm already down to 283,000. So I'm cutting some of the cost away from my bridge. Now I'm at 0.7 and 0.61. I'm going to try shrinking those and seeing what happens. Oh, now I shrunk a piece at 0.71 and it broke. So that means that piece needs to be increased. So now I'm adding size back to that one piece because I need to keep a functioning bridge. If my bridge stops working, I don't have accurate data on how big those pieces need to be. So we're going to work back and forth, checking for any numbers that are at 0.6 or less, and you can use the sorting tools in those columns to sort out your numbers. So now I'm selecting all of these because they're less than 0.6. I'm shrinking those pieces. I'm going back, checking them again, shrinking those pieces, going back. And it's tedious, but we need to do it one step at a time. Otherwise, the data is not accurate. So here I'm at 0.6, 0.48, 0.46. I'll select these pieces, shrink them, go back, check my data. I'm going to select these, shrink them. And you're going to keep going. Now, there's another thing that we can change, and I'm going to show you that in the next video. But this video is basically just showing you that we're going to shrink each piece until we've reached a ratio of higher than 0.6.